You're listening to the No Limits Radio Show on the Vets on Media Network.
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Can you hear me? You're going to have to tell me whether or not you can hear me.
I can hear you.
It is, it's almost my first rodeo on this thing right now.
And you are doing a fabulous job. So welcome to No Limits Radio Show. I'm Christina.
And I'm Michelle.
If you are watching on the feed, you'll notice that Michelle isn't where she normally is because Sam has another job today, a video gig. So Michelle is running the board. So if you're listening and there are any audio issues or technical difficulties,
don't send me the hate mail. But I will say this, if you are going to call in with our guest later today, the phone number is 602-399-7787. And we don't have like a screener. So when you call in, I will answer it, but you might not hear anything from you because we have to kind of finish our thought process before I can say, hi, you're on the air.
Right.
So have a little patience with me. I'm
Yes.
kind of like a toddler learning how to ride their bike.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks.
The fact that you are multitasking and co-hosting and running the board is really amazing. That's something I would never be able to do.
Well, the show just started, sweetie. Don't give me so many kudos quite yet.
You're amazing. You're going to do this. Okay. So for everyone tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. This is how the show goes. We're going to open with our W.W.W. And this is where Michelle has gone out to the web and she has searched for those stories that are wild and wacky and weird. At 10 o'clock, we're going to bring on our special in-studio guests. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about all kinds of great stuff. I am going to share my personal journey with this new diet that I've been doing, HCG. I am going to share to the point of, I'm going to tell you how much weight I actually had gained and how much I've lost, like the actual number on the scale. How freaking scary and crazy is that? But
you're going to even give the number.
I'm going to even give the number. And here's why. I was thinking about this. The thing about the number on the scale, we make a big deal. And I want to remove the weight, if you will, of that big deal. Do you have any issue with telling people your shoe size?
Well, I do kind of have big feet.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a size 10.
But people can see your shoe size. And when people look at me, they can see my weight, okay? It's not like they're thinking, oh, she's 125 pounds. I mean,
she's a size 0.
They know. So I'm just trying to remove the big deal of the big number. Because I've learned in my own other personal experiences, by bringing things out into the light, it diminishes their power, and that's what I'm doing. So I am going to share, oh my gosh, I'm going to share that big ass number on the scale.
That big ass number. But it's getting smaller. Let's look at the positive side. It's getting smaller.
It is. And I'm so excited about that.
If it makes you feel any better, my heaviest weight was when my sister got married.
What was that about?
Well, no, that was about, I was a sophomore in high school and I was eating a double chocolate Oreo Blizzard every night at 11:30 before I started studying, or I was out drinking, one or the other. And that's how I gained the weight. But there's nothing worse than you being at your heaviest weight and those pictures are like, the keepsake. And there I am, like 190 pounds. My face is like all big. So anyway,
now see, I would go in and Photoshop all those pictures.
You can't Photoshop that. It's big.
Well,
it was big.
All right. But before we can get into any of that, any of those topics, first, we need to do the W.W.W.
We do.
And you've been very busy today.
I did. What do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about something wonderful?
Let's talk about something wonderful.
Let's talk about something wonderful. I personally, it is wonderful, but I don't know. I kind of think it's a little odd. The story actually comes out of France. And bear with me, people. The computer is being slow. So this comes out of France. And this is a story about a soldier's room remaining the same for almost 100 years.
I love this story. I love that his parents wanted to completely preserve his room and actually built it into the will. So, and one of the homeowners said this isn't really a legally binding document. to make the room be forever immortalized.
Correct.
But when you look at the room, and we'll share the links that you guys can all see the pictures of it. When you look at this room, it's like stepping back in time. It really is. And what a great way to honor one of our heroes.
Yeah, he died in 1918. The house sold in 1936. The clause in the deed actually said that the room should be preserved that way for 500 years.
I think it's amazing.
So
I love it.
it's interesting. So yeah, I mean, I think it's weird. But I think part of it that I think is so odd is that the room is kind of, when you see the pictures, it's kind of starting to deteriorate. So I kind of wish that if they're going to do this as a memorial or keepsake or whatever you want to refer to it as, that they would maybe have someone come in to put it maybe back to, I mean, like the wallpaper's coming off, so it's kind of like, can they, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, now it's like starting, like everything's starting to like just deteriorate in the room.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think maybe they should do a little something.
I was sad to learn though that the home hasn't stayed within the family, because I thought, wouldn't that be wonderful if that home had stayed in the family and generation after generation after generation was able to see this room.
Right.
So.
But you know what they didn't say? Does he like allow people in there? Is it like
I was curious about that.
Is it like a museum? You know, people pay $5 to come in and see the room. Like that's what I would be doing.
Exactly. And my entrepreneurial brain was like, oh, there's a business model here.
Did I tell you
they could sell trinkets in the foyer?
Right? Like little war keepsakes?
Exactly.
Something. But then they could take that money and then use it to keep the room. Right. And maybe get it fixed a little bit.
And maybe even donate a portion of it to some veterans charity, which would get them a lot of nice publicity.
That would be a good thing.
Although they're kind of getting a lot of publicity now. And if they aren't currently selling, tickets for people to come and see it, hello, opportunity.
And we'll take partial share of that because it was absolutely our idea. We don't know why you haven't thought of it because it took us 5 minutes. But anyway, next, another great feel-good story in Oregon. Did you hear the story about the brother, Eric Hale, 45, of Bend, Oregon, won the $1 million Powerball? The first call he made was to his brother, who as a kid, he said, if I ever win, I will share with you. And he's 45, and he shared it with his brother.
And for 20 years, he played the same numbers consistently, and then he won it. I found this very interesting. And my first thought was, I have a younger brother, and there are a lot of things I promised him as a kid. Like, I'm going to kick your ass. I never did. Like, I mean, how many promises to your siblings did you make that you really didn't? I mean, as a kid.
I don't think I promised my brother and sister anything. I mean,
Really?
there were 3 of us. So it was always pick on, like, it was 2 against 1, like always. But my brother was mean.
So was mine.
He was really mean. He cut my hair. Can I just tell you, I had hair probably about your length. And okay, so to backtrack a little bit, I have a sister and a brother. My sister, her hair just didn't grow. I mean, now she has longer hair, but when she was younger, her hair just didn't grow very long. My hair grew like a weed. And my dad really liked the fact that I had long hair. My brother cut it like up to my ear. Like it was super long, and he cut he took this big chunk with the scissors out, and then I had to chop all my hair off.
Okay, but were you asleep when he did it?
No, my mom says I let him do it, but I highly doubt it. I mean, he probably had rubber bands at my face and was going to smack me with them if not. Because he did that to me too.
I cut my sister's bangs, and when you try to cut your bangs, if you cut them wet, then when they dry,
they're a little higher.
Yeah. So I totally botched them, and it was so bad. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. And this is my little sister who loves and trusts me. And it was so bad. So then my mom said, well, I'm going to give her the scissors. And she's like 6. I'm going to give her the scissors and let her cut your hair. Oh, it was a train wreck.
Did she really cut it? Your mom really did that?
Yeah. Yep.
You didn't do it on purpose to be mean, did you? Or
no,
did you?
No. If it was my brother, I would have done something mean on purpose just because he was mean. I love my brother, and he's amazing now. Now.
What time can do.
It's amazing.
All right. So
wait, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you won the lottery, would you share it with any of your siblings?
All right, so now you want me to say whether or not I'm selfish or not. I'm kind of thinking, $1 million sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. It's because when you take out the taxes, it's really not like a whole lot.
Right.
I would definitely give something, but if
Another lottery ticket.
Yeah, like at Christmas, I would give them a lottery ticket. No, I mean, I think I would help them out. If I was one of those people that won like millions and millions, I would definitely make sure that both my brother and sister, my parents were set for life. But yeah, $1 million, like I said, it's not that much. Like if I shared with my brother, my sister, my mom and dad, like we would each have maybe 100,000
right
after taxes and everything. So maybe I would just take them on a trip.
Which is still 100,000 is great. I mean, what a nice blessing.
It is. Would you share? Honestly. Yeah, honestly.
I would probably help every family member out in some way, like pay off my mom's house. I would do things like helping them out.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. So like, let's say if you just do something different, then it's not equal. So, because like, let's say your sister owns a home and she owes $200,000 and your mom owes $50,000. So you're going to pay off your sister's home, which is $200,000, and your mom's, which is only $50,000. So that's really not fair.
Are you a Democrat?
This stems from my mother, and it's all my mother's fault because my mother has to be even with everything. Like at Christmas, we all had the same amount of gifts, and I know my mom saved every receipt. I bet you money spent was within $10.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's all relative. The sister that has the $200,000 house and the mom that has the $50,000 house, which that's not actually. Okay, but just hypothetically, it would be relative to each of them, and it would mean an equal amount to both of them, which I'm surprised. So would your mom tell you how much she spent on everybody for Christmas?
No, but we just knew. Now that we're older, like, because when I have kids, Christmas comes around and I'm like, man, mom, it's expensive. Even if you just get them a couple things, she goes, oh, I know. I remember I used to write down how many gifts you had and how much I spent. So I know she did that. I mean, they also have helped us kids in our life in different situations. Like my brother was in school in Yukon forever. So if he wanted to come home, they would buy the ticket. When I went through my divorce, my parents helped me out with that. And I know for a fact when they die, the money will be minus those things. I already know this. I know this because that's just how my mom is.
Wow.
So like all my brother's plane tickets that they bought him throughout the years, my divorce, it's all going to be there. My sister's going to make out. I don't think she's ever asked my parents for help.
I'm not organized enough to keep a tally like that of my kids and who I've helped out. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting.
I would have to keep it equal.
I think in order to really help everybody out, you've got to win like $100 million.
That's like 30.
No, 100 million.
Well, how many people do you want to help out?
The world.
You need a lot more than that.
Okay. So what else do you have?
So let's talk about helping people. For those of you that don't know, Ronald McDonald Charity is a wonderful organization that helps and provides temporary housing for families of children that are having surgeries or they're in the hospital for an extended pet stay. And they had their a charity little sock campaign that they were doing. And the Philadelphia police officers actually bought these socks. They were $10. And they each wore them one day. They went to the commissioner, the uniform commissioner or whatever, and asked if they could please not be in uniform for that one day. So they all wore these Ronald McDonald socks for the day. And I thought that was pretty cool. They ended up raising $26,000 for the Ronald McDonald House.
Wow. So what was the fundraising component of it?
You had to pay for the socks.
Okay.
So you bought the socks. They were $10 a pair. And then what they asked is that you would post it with the hashtag Saki. What was it? Hashtag Saki campaign.
And then would people also donate money to this campaign, or it was just the money raised was from purchasing the socks?
Well, that is what the intention of the police department was, to raise the money for the 600 pairs of socks that they bought, which would have been $6,000. And they ended up raising $26,000. So people just were giving and giving. So that money will all go to the Ronald McDonald House.
I love that.
So I think that's pretty cool.
I love that. I love that story, especially because the Ronald McDonald House Ronald McDonald House Phoenix right here is one that I've helped out a lot at and been involved with. As a matter of fact, the company that I work for, Xeriscapes, we launched a marketing campaign called It's a Give and Grow campaign, where we're donating money back to the Ronald McDonald House for every new company that we partner with. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I love everything that the Ronald McDonald House does. We have the Ronald McDonald House Phoenix charity, Phoenix House, and then there's also one at Children Carden Center that's being built. So we'll actually have 2 houses here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they help a lot of people. My parents took advantage of them when my brother was young. So it's a great organization. So let's go to the wacky.
Okay, what do you got for us that's wacky?
You're going to be so grossed out.
Oh, great.
This woman in Scotland found a 3-inch leech living in her nose. That's so gross. Wait, it's even worse. For a month. This leech was living in her nose for an entire month. She was experiencing nosebleeds while traveling for a month in Vietnam, but she thought, I don't think she's the smartest person, just on a side note, but anyway, she was experiencing some nosebleeds while traveling for a month in Vietnam. She thought she must have a burst blood vessel because I guess she had fallen off a motorcycle. So she also sometimes noticed something sticking out of her nostril, but she just figured it was like dried up blood. So she would just sniff it back in, I guess. So when she returned to Scotland, she looked in the mirror to examine the inside of her nose and realized what was inside was not some type of a blood clot, but a 3-inch long leech as wide as a thumb.
So then she went to a doctor and a doctor removed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what that moment looks like. If that's you, you're looking in the mirror and then you realize that there is a leech in your nose. Oh my gosh. I am holy shit freaking out. Like you would not even believe. I can't stand anything bodily function, much less foreign things that don't belong in my body. That would freak me out. I am terrified of, you've seen the videos of people who have like crazy bugs in their ears. Oh my gosh. That just,
yeah. It's pretty gross. Like, I don't know how you see something out of your nose and don't like look at it a little closer than just sniffing.
And how did it get in there? How did it get in there? Like, was she asleep and then it just crawled up in there?
It didn't tell us. She probably doesn't know it was there for a month. I mean, I don't even remember what I did last week. I certainly wouldn't remember last month how a leech got in my nose.
But where were you at? Okay.
She was in Vietnam. She was traveling in Vietnam for a month. That's all we have.
So maybe she was swimming?
I don't know.
Okay. Note to self, never going to Vietnam. There we go.
Well, just do me a favor. If you see something coming out of your nose, investigate a little bit.
Oh,
just a little bit.
That's so creepy. That's just really creepy.
You know what else is creepy?
What?
Being in labor and being held at gunpoint. That's pretty creepy, isn't it?
That's very creepy.
This happened in Iowa. A couple actually were speeding to the hospital. This was the lady's Rachel Conan. She went into labor. She has 3 children, but she told her husband, she said something, this baby's coming really quickly. She could just tell that there was a difference. So her and her husband get behind the vehicle. They do try to call 911 to warn the authorities of the situation. But the dispatcher couldn't understand her because she's in labor.
Right,
so
right.
she's like screaming, she's in pain, and her husband is going 85 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. So they don't slow down. A cop comes up behind them, puts on the lights. She says, you can't stop.
Isn't that okay? So who wears the pants in this family?
I think when anyone is in delivery, they wear the pants. I don't know if that's how the relationship is outside of it, but I think that if you're a smart man, in that time period, let her wear the pants.
I hear you. And you're the one that's driving. The reason that you're driving and the reason that the woman that's in labor is not driving is because she can't drive. I mean, she is in a crazy place right now. So you being the sane person who's not having contractions, you assess the situation, go, there's a police officer behind me. I'm going to just pull over, let him know my wife is in labor, and then get a police escort. But no, he didn't do that.
They don't do that. So they end up throwing down tire spikes. Obviously, the car comes to a halt.
Right. Which that could have been even more dangerous.
I know. So they pull, the cops go up to the side of the car and actually get her out of the car at gunpoint. And then they find out, oh, she's in labor. So they escort her to the to the hospital, and she had the baby an hour later.
Well, and no charges have been pressed against them,
No.
and he may get a speeding ticket. But thank goodness that this didn't go horribly awry. When the stop sticks were put out, there could have been a really bad accident. When police are pulling over someone who has evaded, that hasn't stopped, their adrenaline is very heightened. So you never know how horribly wrong that could have gone. So he should have just pulled over. He should have said, "Honey, I'm just going to pull over for a second." That's all he had to say.
I don't think any man would do that. They're all going to just keep going. 'Cause who knows what she's saying to him at this point.
That's true.
So, all right. So now we're going to go to the patient who woke up from surgery wearing pink panties.
Now, is this a male patient or a female patient?
It is a male patient. And this is Andrew Walls from Delaware. He is 32. And he woke up from his colonoscopy dressed in pink panties.
Was he not happy about it?
An attorney for Walls called the incident an outrageous prank by Walls' colleagues. So I don't quite know how his colleagues tie in with the surgery because it doesn't do a good job of talking about that. But when he was initially presented for his colonoscopy, he had not been wearing pink women's underwear, and at no time did the plaintiff voluntarily, knowingly, or intentionally place the pink women's underwear upon himself. So the prank allegedly occurred in 2012. He supposedly lost his job over this because of severe emotional stress. So the lawsuit, they are seeking damages for emotional stress. However, the Delaware surgery director, Jennifer Anderson, declined to comment because she says, "We just found out about this yesterday afternoon." So here's my thing about this. This happened like 2 years ago. How did they not hear anything about this? I mean, if this happened to me, everyone in the hospital would have known that this happened to me. Like if I woke up with a dildo strapped on me or something, I mean, I would be livid. So,
Okay.
well, I'm trying to think pink panties wouldn't bother me. I might be like, "Oh, these are kind of cute. Victoria's Secrets, nice." But I'm trying to think of something I wouldn't want attached to me, which a dildo would be something I wouldn't want attached to me.
Okay.
The whole hospital would know that, okay, you all, this isn't funny. You just, I'm offended.
Right.
So people would know. How did no one know about this?
If this happened to either of us, not only would everyone know, everyone in social media would know. So I agree with you. I'm surprised that they didn't know. I call bullshit on that. I'm sure that they knew. I would love to know more about how his colleagues played into it.
Mm-hmm.
Did he work at the hospital? What did he do there at the hospital? Who did this? I'm not surprised that there's a lawsuit, and I'm sure that he's going to end up winning the lawsuit just because now that this has become publicly known, they're going to have to these are professionals, and to teach a lesson to,
Yeah, I know.
because the public, I mean, when you hear this, you feel when you're going in to have a surgery or have any procedure done, you want to know that you're in the hands of professionals and that when you are the most vulnerable, you're protected. And
That is true.
And I think that I'm not surprised that he had an emotional stress over this because of that reason. You're the most vulnerable, and the people that you think you should trust took advantage of you, even though it was just pink panties. What else did they? No, I'm serious.
No, I understand. But I guess my thing is how is this just coming? Like, how is he going to prove that this took place 2 years ago?
What do you mean? How is he going to prove it?
Well,
there was a picture.
This was 2 years ago. Okay, this picture is not the real picture. I thought I was going to have to come over and smack you for a second. I'm like, wait, you really think that these leopard pink panties are the ones that he had on? I don't think so.
No, but I really want to see and whose pink panties were they?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Victoria's Secrets should just come in and pay it.
Right?
Yeah.
They should get this for advertising or
I
something.
think they're doing a big panty sale right now, 5 for $27 or something like that.
Well, let's make sure
Victoria's
we go over.
Secrets has sponsored this lawsuit. Go buy your panties now. Get them. They're on sale.
Even men like them. All right, last story, and then we've got to take a break.
Okay.
This one comes out of Tennessee. A woman goes to jail for not mowing her yard. So
Hire a good landscaper.
Karen Holloway spent 6 hours in jail for failing to maintain her yard in accordance with the standards of the city. So she apparently there are some. Did you hear that?
What was that?
Well, that's me not knowing how to mute this
Oh, okay.
computer, and it was doing the video.
I was like, I'm hearing voices in my head
Well, then you need help
right now. Right now.
You need help.
Is anyone else hearing those voices in my head?
Yes, everybody heard that.
Okay, good.
So anyway, apparently there are some laws in the city, Lenore City in Tennessee, where you have to maintain your yard. And because she didn't, she was given a citation for it. She did not trim her weeds. So
Hold on a
she
second.
went to
It
jail.
wasn't just trimming her weeds. It wasn't just mowing her grass. Her shrubs and bushes were out of control.
They were overgrown.
Completely overgrown. Did you see the pictures?
I saw the pictures. However, this is a low income, like they don't have a lot of money. And I understand it doesn't cost anything to go,
Clip 'em.
hack down a tree. Well, I guess if you don't have clippers, I mean, these aren't small bushes.
You can
These are
go to Goodwill
bushes.
and get a pair of clippers.
Anyway, she spent 6 hours in jail with like child molesters and people like that just because she didn't mow her yard.
Do you know that she was in there with child molesters?
That's what she says. Just like the man who had pink panties on. That's what he says. This is what she says.
Okay, I do think the jail time was a bit extreme, but I do think it's serious business to take care of your yard. And that's not just because I work for a landscape company. But here's the thing. Your shrubs and bushes should be below windows because if they're not, it poses a security hazard. People could be hiding, seriously, people could be hiding behind them. And your trees should be 3 feet from the building because of, wait, where was this at?
This was in Tennessee.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they have roof rats. So your trees should be 3 feet from the building.
What about like hurricanes? Tornadoes?
Yeah.
3 feet isn't going to mean anything though.
Well, whatever.
Well, whatever. Well, anyway, I feel
Landscape
sorry for
is-
Karen Holloway.
I don't. She should have taken care of her yard.
I'm going to come by your house and stalk it on a regular basis now to see if any bush goes over your windows.
You totally can.
I'm going to.
My yard is
And
good.
if not, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call 911.
You don't have to worry about that because I live in a homeowners association, and so they have the yard police.
Do you really have a homeowners association
Yeah,
over there?
yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have a homeowners association because when I put the trash out, it probably stays there for like 2 days. I never bring the can up. Isn't that horrible?
I will admit that there are some nitpick things that they do in homeowners associations, but I have so many pictures of neighborhood houses in different neighborhoods that they are the reason for homeowners associations. Your house isn't one of them.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that's it for the W.W.W. And when we come back,
We're going to talk about weight loss. Basically we're talking about health. We're going to talking about your health. The HCG diet is one of those diets that I've got to say is so controversial. People are on both sides of it. And so we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about the HCG diet, and we've brought in a doctor to talk about it with us. So in just a couple minutes, we'll be back. I'm Christina.
and I'm Michelle.
Breaker, 19. How about that bandage? You got them ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in your life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs host over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You have to be about this close.
You're listening to No Limits Radio Show on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, welcome back. I'm Christina.
And I'm Michelle.
And in with us in studio, we have Dr. Schuyler McHenry. Is it Dr. Schuyler McHenry or just Dr. McHenry?
I actually do Dr. Schuyler.
Dr. Schuyler?
Yeah.
Dr. Schuyler. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we're going to talk about the HCG diet.
Okay.
It's quite controversial. So for those that aren't aware of this diet, just give everybody the rundown. First of all, what does HCG stand for?
HCG stands for human chorionic gonadotropin. Kind of the cherry pick the easy word out of there, gonadotropin. Basically, the gonads are the ovaries and the testes, for men and women. And tropin means work harder. So it just helps with hormone production. It's a little bit different use when we start talking about the HCG diet, though.
Okay, and how is it differently used with respect to the HCG diet?
So most commonly we see HCG elevate in the body during pregnancy. That's like the P-stick test. That's what it's measuring is HCG in the urine. And what happens is when you create an environment where there's a lack of calories, but you have a high level of HCG, what it does is it causes the fat cells of the body to release fat to be converted into energy. Mainly if you think about in a famine situation, a woman's pregnant and she's trying to stay alive as well as keep the baby alive, she's going to want to go ahead and release fat so she can do that.
Right. So some people might say, well, if you're on a 500 calorie diet, you're going to lose weight anyway.
True.
So then I guess you don't need the HCG diet.
Not necessarily. What happens in that situation, if you just go on a 500 calorie diet, which is called a VLCD or very low calorie diet, what the body will typically do is cannibalize muscle mass first. And so losing muscle mass is the absolute last thing you want to do during a weight loss protocol, because after you're done with the weight loss protocol, you still want to be able to burn calories when you increase your caloric intake again. And the muscle is the easy and kind of best way to do that. So the HCG comes into play because it allows your body to, again, release the stored fat and use that as the energy source rather than burning the muscle.
So if a person had been working out really strong, really intensely, and then gained a lot of weight, and then went on the HCG diet, when that fat starts to come off, the muscles are going to be there.
Should be, yeah.
But you still have to build the muscles back, because if you've quit working out, the muscles are going to be there, but they're not going to be very strong, right?
Yeah. So if you're in an untrained state before you enter the diet, so you've got low muscle mass and then you do the diet and so you lose fat mass, you're still going to have low muscle mass there. But if you are training on a regular basis and you have a good amount of lean muscle mass present, then you're going to go ahead and lose the fat mass. And like Christina said, you'll have the, I'm getting caught up, the muscle still there and the fat will be gone.
Right. So it will be.
Yeah.
So it will be. Yeah. Are you referring to someone we may know?
I'm referring to myself. Okay. So I'm actually, today is what day is it? Yes, I did bring my little sheet in. I am on day 5 of the HCG protocol. And this all started for me because I reached my highest weight. I reached my highest weight higher than when I was pregnant with my kids, that high. And quite honestly, I was starting to get very depressed. I'm often asked to attend events, and every time I'm asked to attend an event, I either make up an excuse for why I can't attend that event, or I go into this panic about what am I going to wear to the event. It's quite depressing. The weight that I got to, and I'm going to share the actual number on the scale because I feel like we put so much weight on that, and I just want to remove the
anxiety of it.
Stigma.
Yeah, it's just a number. So the number on the scale for me when I started this was 204.2 pounds. 204 pounds. Like, honestly, when I got to 199, I was like, oh my gosh, I am almost to 200 pounds. My level of anxiety was through the roof. Then as it went over, it was just the most, I was on the verge of the biggest depression, I think, of my entire life. And now I am in control of it. And I feel so freaking empowered. When I got on the scale this morning, and this is just after doing the shots for 4 days, I was at 195.5.
That's awesome.
I know. Yeah. But here's the thing that's even cooler about this. It's not just about the weight that I've lost, because it's about what I've learned in the last few days. I remember when we were at the Bent But Not Broken event and we were talking about this, and you told me that the calories that I would be taking on the diet was 500. I thought, there is no way I'm going to be able to do a 500 calorie diet. Well, I honestly, I have not been hungry one single day on the HCG protocol. My serving sizes, the other night I got a steak, a top sirloin steak. And honestly, there was a time in my life not too far ago when I would have eaten that entire steak. Well, the serving size was actually a fourth of that. Honestly, when I finished that fourth of the steak, I was completely full. It's amazing. Like, what I've learned about portion control, and what I've also learned about some of the patterns in my brain. Okay, it's Friday night. This is normally pizza night. Okay, I got to take control of this. So it's really been quite empowering, quite amazing for me. Now, one of the things that a lot of people say as you talk about all the weight loss, there's this concern, well, at the end of the 28 days or at the end of the 44 days, however many days you do it, you're going to put it all back on. So what do you say to that?
It's all about the maintenance plan that is used after completing the HCG period. And that's where there's a lot more debate, especially amongst practitioners. The naturopathic community, everybody has their own kind of idealized version of what that maintenance plan looks like. Because overall, Dr. Simeons was the one who came up with the original protocol. His maintenance plan doesn't seem to work very well for a lot of people because it doesn't allow to adapt to like our food environment as it is now. So the key things are definitely maintaining your portion control, reintroducing breakfast back in, and then the snacks back into the day, so that way your blood sugar remains stable throughout the day. That's kind of where most people get in trouble into the first place, is that they're not having an adequate caloric intake through certain segments of the day. So for example, if you skip breakfast, skip a mid-morning snack, sometimes even miss lunch until 2 or 3, you've been awake running around for 8 to 10 hours and your body's basically in starvation mode. And so then when you eat and you're like, oh man, that burger looks so good, or that pizza looks so good, the inclination is just to take in all those extra calories that it can and store them, because your body doesn't trust you anymore to the point of making sure that you have adequate calories.
Well, and what I've done to my body recently, before this last week, my body shouldn't trust me. I should not be in charge of my body because I've been doing it all wrong. Now, one of the things that you just said is, those mid-morning snacks. The HCG diet plan, you start with coffee or tea, then you go to lunch, and coffee is black, no cream, no milk, just black. That was quite a little transition for me.
There's actually a few studies pointing that anything that we add to coffee actually makes it slow down our metabolism, but black coffee itself will actually help increase our metabolism.
Now, I have modified that and added a protein shake in the morning. So I have a protein shake, I have my coffee, then we go into lunch. It's a serving from the protein calorie, a serving from the vegetable category, and a serving from the fruit category. What I've found that's working best for me is instead of having all of those at once, about 10 o'clock, I have one of those. A little bit later, and I'll have my vegetable, and I eat that one vegetable as a meal, and then I'm full. So I don't need to keep eating. I just wait until a little bit later, and then I have that next serving. So that's how I'm going through my day. And the thing that I'm wondering is, why can't a person continue that even in the maintenance cycle?
You could. It's just a matter of increasing the total calorie intake.
Why?
So when you stop doing the HCG injections, you're not releasing the fat from the storage as much as before. And so that extra caloric, volume that's present there is no longer there. And you need to take it in from your food.
Okay.
So that's where it just needs to go up. And so a lot of people like, how tall are you?
5'7".
So caloric intake between 1,000 to 1,300 calories, you could shift up to that level and continue on and still continue to get the results you're looking for.
Okay. And in the maintenance, once you're in the maintenance, that's all about what you're doing nutritionally. It's not about people continuing to do the HCG. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's instituting a healthy lifestyle.
Now let's talk a little bit about, there's a lot about the shots versus the drops versus the pills. Are they all one and the same, or is there a big difference? And what is that big difference, if there is?
Again, highly debated. I'll just give my experience and practice. And what I've seen is the shots typically work the best. I've spoken with a few different compounding pharmacists, and they describe the process of making the HCG preparation. And in doing so, they've more than once shared that they don't understand or believe how the drops in particular still could be active or usable by the body over the course of the 30 or 40 days. They noticed that in their studies that a lot of it will start to break down. So it's not as potent or as strong as it's supposed to be. So, and there's a lot more room for controlling the shots. For instance, keeping it in the fridge and keeping the temperature controlled and away from light and all that will help. So that would be the difference. Then the other thing that came along a few years ago when HCG was super popular was the homeopathic prescriptions. Not really. That's a 50-50 homeopathy.
No, what's a homeopathic prescription?
Homeopathy is when you take a substance and dilute it down, and basically through the process of agitation and hitting, they call succussion, make it energetically strong. It's a mind trip. It's almost like quantum medicine or some energetic medicine. And it doesn't really have the actual substance in there anymore. It's just what they say is kind of a memory in the water of that substance. And so they got really popular. You could find them at Walmart even. I have had patients say, oh, I did that before and I used it and it didn't work. And to me, it was kind of like, well, I don't think it's going to work because you're not actually getting the substance in you.
Okay.
So
how do you determine which, because there's apparently different time periods of programs you can do if you're doing the shots. Like Christina noticed, you said something about 28 days.
Right.
Then is there another one that's around 40 days or something like that? Did you mention that there's a
44 days?
44 days?
Well, what they found to be safe was doing it, 4 to 6 weeks. So that's your 28 to 40 day range. The difference really comes down to how much weight is attempting to be lost, current health status of the individual, and their likelihood of succeeding. So if somebody is showing concern or they're hesitant or they're not quite believing that they're going to be able to do it, then starting off at 28 days is a great place, because then you can add on at a later point. If somebody is like gung-ho, I've got this, I'm going to do it, for the whole time period, they might want to start at 40 days. Somebody that's a little bit more frail, 28 days. Somebody that's a little bit more healthy and robust, they go 40 days. It's kind of just adapting to that individual and allowing for flexibility.
Now, when you say frail, do you mean someone who doesn't have a lot of weight to lose, and who can benefit from this? Like, let's say, for example, I could afford to lose probably 15 pounds easily. Am I someone who can do that for a short period, or do I not have enough weight to lose to do the system?
You could. You're just going to find that it's going to be challenging. You might say get 10 or 12 pounds off pretty easily. It's just going to be the last few pounds. Again, because your body's at that low calorie state is protecting or preserving itself. So it feels like if your body fat mass is dropping too low, it's going to kick in and even stop the HCG from working.
So this program is more beneficial to people who have what amount of weight to lose?
Fat ass. Basically, if you're a fat ass. So basically, Michelle, you're too thin. I'm a fat ass. I can do it.
That is not what he said at all.
Right.
I said it for you.
No, I'm asking for our listeners, what if someone has 25 pounds? Like what is the weight that needs to be lost that you feel this is a beneficial program for someone to do?
20 or 25 would be kind of at the bottom end of that spectrum. I noticed probably the best results or the most profound results are in that kind of 40 to 60 pound range. And that's just because the weight comes off a lot quicker. It's more astounding to the individual because it's such a contrast from where they were coming from. The 20 to 25, it's not that huge of a shift. And so then there's a lot more kind of, I don't want to say negativity, but like skepticism or questioning. They're like, well, I really didn't lose that much. Well, the numbers on the scale show that you did. Well, it doesn't feel like it. And it does. They don't necessarily enjoy the process as much, but somebody in that 40 to 60 pound range, they definitely, they feel like they get the most bang for the buck.
Fat ass. Like I said. What about diabetics? I had someone that asked on the page if a diabetic could do this diet.
It depends on if they're insulin dependent or not.
Okay.
So insulin dependent, I would be hesitant, cautious of doing it. Probably could come up with enough cheats to make it possible. And then somebody that's not on insulin but is on their medications, a lot of times it comes down to having access to me and letting me know what's going on. So say, for instance, they get into the HCG program, day 8, day 9, they notice I'm getting really tired. I'm getting these headaches. I feel like my sugar's crashing. At that point, as a primary care physician in the state of Arizona, I can lower their blood sugar medication and make that adjustment because their body's actually getting healthier through the process, that they're not going to be over medicated and crashing their sugar out. So it really just depends.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that you are a primary care physician in the state of Arizona.
Yes.
So you're a naturopath.
Yes.
Is that a real doctor?
It is.
Okay.
So short, long story. Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was allopathic doctors and they became MDs. There's osteopathic doctors, they became DOs. There's chiropractic doctors, they became DCs. And then there was this small little group of kind of nutballs called naturopaths. And they were usually ones that had gone to, DO school and chiropractic school. And they knew an herbalist and they knew herbs. Like they were the ones that tried to take and incorporate everything. Mm-hmm. They didn't carry the political clout needed, and they didn't fall into the pharmaceutical model that developed in the early 1900s. So they kind of got pushed out and then made a resurgence back in the 70s. And so in the states that we were licensed in, typically we have the rights of a primary care physician. We have prescription rights. We have different procedural rights. Like in the state of Arizona, we can do minor surgery. So it really just depends by state.
So you can write prescriptions?
Yes.
Okay.
So that minor surgery, can you do liposuction? Is that
No.
one of them? Damn, because I'm thinking 15 pounds. I'm too little for the, for the HCG. Maybe I can just get a little Lipo.
We could start small and then go.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Aren't most doctors licensed in the state that they live in? Or
Yes.
okay.
Or where they practice in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about dangers.
Okay.
So before making this decision to do this, and I got to tell everybody, Dr. Schuyler was great because there are some things that I just go with, and then there are some things that I ask 100 million questions. And I was constantly sending him questions after questions after questions. And what about this? What about this? And especially that was prompted because I had posted on Facebook for everyone that has done this. And I only wanted the people that had done this. I wanted to know what their experience was like. And I got a lot of really good experiences. And then I got some that weren't so good experiences. And of those that weren't such good experiences, I then went and asked them more questions. Were you on the injections? Were you doing this through a doctor? With a good portion of those, I found that they weren't going through a doctor. They weren't doing the injections. They were doing the drops. But some of the concerns that people shared with me was excessive bleeding. These were women that were having some excessive menstrual bleeding, cysts on their ovaries, hair loss. Let's just talk about the dangers.
Okay. I guess the dangers are anytime you're tweaking or manipulating the body's hormone pathways, there are things that can happen. So the gonadotropin part we were talking about before, possibly that woman's putting out more estrogen, putting out more progesterone, depending on how they're responding to it. And that shift might lead to early bleeding. So say they're a normal 28-day cycle, they're bleeding on day 21. Those kind of things can come up during the process. Most often normalize within a month after stopping. I have had patients that have seen me after doing the HCG elsewhere and have said it's taken 2-3 months afterwards. Again, the different bag of tricks we have, I've got different herbal formulas to get that process back where it should be.
Okay.
The hair falling out, that is situations I've seen where there's usually that woman's kind of coming from a very nutrient deficient place. Either they've got some type of eating disorder in the background, or they've got an undiagnosed thyroid condition. And so their body is just not capable for dealing with kind of the stress of doing the HCG diet, and they're seeing the results come out with the thinning of the hair. Most often it's easily reversible, getting them on the right supplementation. Usually it's minerals to get their hair stronger and built back up again. And what was the other one you asked?
Cysts.
Oh, cysts. Yes.
Cysts. That's just part of the hormone balance.
Okay.
Again, there's different herbal formulas that can re-regulate feeling better again.
Now, does this cause any damage to the liver? Are there any concerns with that?
There is. That's why part of the protocol I use. I use an injection that has something called MIC on it. MIC is 3 different ingredients that help with mobilizing fat and cholesterol through the liver to be dumped through the bile into the intestines to be eliminated. Because what happens is you're releasing large amounts of fat into the blood circulation. It has to go somewhere. So your body's using cholesterol more or less as a school bus to shuttle it around, and its job is to take it to the liver to be eliminated. Okay. And so I provide that additional support. Sometimes there can be an increase in fatty deposits in the liver. And again, usually for me, it's an herbal fix. There's different herbs that support getting fat out of the liver. So,
and how would you know that? I know you've been doing this for 10 years. So with your patients, how would you know that they're having an issue with their liver?
You can do blood work.
Okay.
And then,
but would there be something that your patient would come to you and share with you, that there's a concern with their liver? Is there something that triggers the blood work?
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes it's again, depending on the individual. If it seems like there's testing to be done, I'll go ahead and just order the testing.
Okay.
Other times, the only time I've had it come up is the person was having some type of what's called right upper quadrant pain, but just down underneath the right pec,
okay,
where the liver's located. they were feeling just kind of uncomfortable.
Okay.
And so then we did the blood work, saw the liver enzymes up, and did an ultrasound.
And at what point in the either 28 days or 44 days is that most likely to happen? Or is there a point in the
Any point
at any
throughout
point
there.
Okay. Now you had also mentioned the people with thyroid issues.
Mhm.
So a person that has a thyroid issue, is this more dangerous for them to be on? Are there any concerns with that?
The information I've seen, it's again a hotly debated. It does make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. I've seen some information that says that it will actually improve thyroid function. I've seen other it will make thyroid function worse. So what I've seen in practice is the individuals that have like the thinning of the hair, that's kind of the key indicator that there's something going on with the thyroid. It's typically an undiagnosed thyroid condition.
So someone who already has a diagnosis for their thyroid and is taking care of their thyroid is less likely to have issues.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for that tidbit of information.
For our listeners who have no idea what was just going on, Christina has a thyroid issue and her fiance is not being very supportive because she has a thyroid issue and he's concerned for her health, which is absolutely understandable. That is his job.
And I think that you said that he's not being supportive. I think that he's so concerned that it's probably coming across to me like, you're not supporting me. But
Well, that could be. But like I said, his job obviously is to be concerned about your health.
Right.
So Christina was just trying to probe in a non-personal way to our doctor. But I know you listeners are like, I'm totally lost. So I'll just lay it all out on the table. It's Rob's fault.
There's a reason that Rob is sitting in studio and I'm asking you a lot of these questions because I just needed it to come from the horse's mouth, if you will,
Right.
instead of me trying to explain everything.
But I think with everything, including this HCG diet or any eating disorder for that matter, if you're going to try something, you need to be under physician's care and be open with your physician about what's going on. Because with everything, there's a side effect. Just as worried, Rob, as you might be about this, you should probably also be concerned about her weight gain, meaning that's not healthy either.
Right.
So the weight gain that you have is can be just as unhealthy as causing other things. So why not try it?
Right.
Be smart about it.
So, and I would definitely agree with that because during the HCG protocol in my office, that's why you come in once a week. So there is that check-in. There is that making sure that nothing's slipping through the cracks, for the whole 4-week period. And it just gives that extra opportunity for feedback. And like the sheet that you have where you're tracking your weight, again, it's just information. It's data that allows me to be able to make sure nothing's going sideways.
I have to tell you, it was the most interesting experience. So the first time that I came into Dr. Schuyler's office, I really thought I was just, because this is how my family care doctor is. I have my appointment, I go in, I get my prescription, I kind of give him, this is what's physically going on with me, let's fix it. Okay, bada boom, out the office. 15, 20 minutes. I was literally at his office, I think an hour, if not more, because we want to, and this wasn't filling out paperwork. This was, let's talk about what's going on with you. I was like, what? And he said to me, what was it? The issues are in the tissues. And I was like, what? Like, it completely blew my mind that we were going to sit there and talk about the components that contributed to the weight gain. I thought it was really quite fascinating.
So the issues, what did it say that again?
Not in the Kleenex, not in the tissues.
I was thinking a Kleenex, like,
Right.
you need to tell me like mentally what's going on.
The tissue of the body. So
Yeah.
like the fat or the muscle or whatever tissue is being affected.
Yeah. And I'm not going to share what
I wasn't
but I'm
asking you to.
Like 15 minutes into our
You were
discussion,
crying.
I'm totally in tears.
I
completely in tears.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't expect anything else from you, Christina.
So, and it's just from my perspective, there is that kind of mind-body connection that takes place. And I think a lot of times, like you're describing, you go to a regular doctor and they just blow right past it. And if you don't take a look at what is that underlying thought process, what is that underlying belief pattern that's created this, physical body as it is, then yeah, we could do the HCG, you rock it out, you lose 30 pounds in 30 days. But then that's where I think the rebound comes back, where people are afraid, oh, I just put all the weight back on. Well, to me, that's just another signal that the underlying pattern wasn't actually addressed. And so I like to take the time and make sure I do a good job with that.
So it kind of felt like a counseling session, quite honestly. It really did. So that's one of the things that when people come to you and if they do the HCG protocol, it's not just about the weight loss. It's also about talking about what's going on. So for all you crazies out there that got some things to deal with, and I'm just saying, and there's nothing wrong with you and your big old crazy bag of.
Yeah, he thought he was going to come here and maybe get some listeners to contact him to do HCG. Now he's going to have a line out the door for mental health people. Yeah, I've got these voices. We can do it. No, I'm just kidding. What about the cost? It's coming up to break time, but for sure, what type of cost is this for someone? And is there any insurance that covers it?
I've not seen an insurance cover it. There's probably a way to if we're going to do lab work, get lab work done through the insurance. But the cost, we got a promotion going on right now. It's $300 for the 28 days. Normal is $499. So it's on a little promo. And if we add on weeks, typically the add-on weeks are about $75.
And that includes the product, obviously, the HCG, and then the appointments for coming in, the consulting, and the once a week coming in.
Yeah, it's all of it. That's you pay it up front. It's all paid. It's done. And so for people that do want to add on weeks, I know we've got a break, but I just got a couple other questions. For people that do want to add on weeks, so let's say they're in that category of they're not frail. Maybe they were just a little bit skeptical. So you started them at 28 days and then they're thinking, well, maybe I want to add on weeks. Is there a reason that it would be better to add on weeks versus stopping and then restarting at a later time? Like, is there something different that happens with your body?
What I've noticed is it's again, tracking the weight over the time period. If we're getting to a plateau or there's a slowing of that weight loss curve taking place, then that's a good point to stop and go back into a normal healthy lifestyle for about 3 months, and then we can look at doing it again. If somebody is just straight steamrolling, the weight just keeps dropping off, then that's more likely to want to add weeks on.
Okay. All right. So we'll make that assessment at 28 days. And I had another question. Oh, for people that say, you're doing it the wrong way. Just don't do the HCG diet. Just reduce calories, go to the gym. What do you say about that? Because I feel like I'm pretty sure that my family doctor, which is why I didn't talk to him about this before doing it, I'm pretty sure that he would say, just do it the right way. What do you say to that?
Probably the easiest answer is go watch the movie Fed Up. It was released this I think in the middle of May, or it was just a few months ago, but it talks about that information has been out there for a good 50, 60 years now. Do exercise, cut your calories, cut your fat calories, and obesity is on the rise, or diabetes is on the rise, heart disease is on the rise. Like, it doesn't work. And so the right way might not necessarily be right.
And Christina is smiling from ear to ear.
And with that, we're going to go to a break. I'm Christina.
And I'm Michelle.
And our guest, Dr. Schuyler.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey, everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit you got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. The show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
Hi, we're back.
Sort of. You know, it's great doing this for the first time. I knew we had like 20 some seconds and I'm like, oh shit, it's done.
Sam, we miss you.
Yeah, our listeners miss you too.
Okay. So, all right. So we're in studio here with Dr. Schuyler. And in our last segment, we were talking about the HCG diet, which is one of the protocols that he offers at the Amazing Life Center. Something that other people might consider amazing, well, I think everyone would consider amazing, is having great sex. And there are some things that make it more challenging to have great sex, and you have some solutions. And I'm so comfortable talking about sex.
You are. For sure.
I'm not.
Did you see her face when I said, I can't imagine if I woke up and a dildo was strapped on me? She was like, oh, she just said dildo.
Right?
I know, but you're already whatever. But because you don't just do the HCG diet.
Yeah, I do a lot of hormone replacement therapy. And then also just the general category we'd call it with sexual health and well-being. Sounds a lot nicer, sexual health, than just let's talk about sex, you know?
Okay.
Sexual health. It's kind of like a data collector. It's the nice way to say it.
It sounds more clinical.
Yes.
Let's talk about sexual health now.
Yes.
All right.
And your well-being.
Okay.
So I do a lot of hormone replacement therapy. So after about the age of 35, basically our bodies start to wear out. And one of the ways it goes about that is it does not produce hormones at the same level it did during, our highly reproductive years, our 20s. And so men and women experience different symptoms related to their sexual health and well-being that is hormonally related. Guys probably a lot more so than women. And that's because one of the second things that comes up, usually it's fatigue is first, but then libido starts to drop for men. So their sexual drive and desire begins to go away, in their 40s and 50s. And that's where you hear about the peaking, men peak early, women peak later.
Right.
Part of that dynamic is the hormonal component of it. So as their testosterone drops, they might notice fewer morning erections. They might notice fewer nocturnal erections. And then during the act, they might notice that their erections aren't quite as strong as they were in the past. So that would be just directly testosterone related. A lot of times there's other health factors going on. That's the health of the sexual health. And that's where if there's a pre-diabetes component, a high cholesterol component, a high blood pressure component, and then that will also contribute to the actual penile tissue, the tissue of the penis, being not able to physically respond to sexual activity or sexual intimacy. So there's different physical components that contribute to overall sexual health and well-being. And it's usually, for me, I look at the hormone replacement first, and then look at the metabolic diseases, diabetes and heart disease, which I manage with what's called functional medicine or nutrition. So that's kind of it for men.
That's it for men?
That's it.
I think it's interesting, though, that you said men, you see it more often in men than women.
Again, time dependent.
Right.
And then in a different way. Men are more likely to speak up about it if it gets to the point that they're concerned. So if a guy's sex drive is going away, that's not a good thing. I think societally, women, it's okay to be like, I don't want to do it. I'm too busy. I've got the kids to take care of. So it doesn't,
It's
libido.
messy.
Yeah, it's messy. The libido aspect doesn't get. Right.
Well, it is messy.
Sex is not messy.
Oh, yes,
Right.
it is. Yes, it is.
Are you doing it with Crisco on a
No.
on a water bed, or what
When
do you mean
you
it's
have-
messy?
It's messy because when guys come, then there's the sperm all over the place. And it's just like this is the thing that boggles my mind, is that some women think that's sexy. Oh yeah, come on me. It's the same as if somebody just blew a snot booger on you. It's just a different part of the body. It's gross.
From a health perspective, just to throw this out there, the sperm and semen are actually very nutritive, and it's wonderful for skin.
Oh my gosh. He just ruined your day. He totally just ruined your day. So what you're saying is, let me try to put this in our I love Christina's face.
I feel like I'm going to throw up right now.
If maybe my skin, I'm having some, skin problems on my face, you're telling me cum might help that?
So it's been looked at before and researched, and yes, found to be helpful.
Really?
Because it's kind of, there's a low dose of testosterone in there, which helps turn and tone and strengthen.
So wait. Yeah, she just heard a key word. So
Tone and strengthen?
Are we talking less wrinkles?
So you guys ever watch the show Nip Tuck?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember the episode where the woman was collecting the sperm and semen from her teenage boys and made it into a face cream?
I do.
So there was medical fact behind that.
So Christina, you realize what this means.
So, okay.
Shots to the face.
Okay. Okay, but hold on. Okay, wait. Hold on a second. Now, just because it was in a show, is that real?
He just said it was.
Yes, I'd found somebody had done a research study on it, and I'd found it.
So it tones. So would it tone any portion of your body?
Like breast tissue or other areas?
Like your ass?
Possibly.
Okay.
Interesting.
Christina and Rob's sex life, it is just taken a totally different turn. So Rob is going to come see you when he can no longer get it up because Christina's got containers and containers of sperm everywhere to rub all over her ass. Okay. So enough about the. Okay. Go ahead.
That is the first piece of information that has made me see value in sperm.
Well,
for
look at that.
toning of the skin.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe it's not as gross as snot.
Yes, because
Okay.
snot is primarily proteins and
But they
dirt
both
and
have that
germs.
mucusy, like.
yeah, there's protein in sperm and semen.
Okay.
So-
All right. So moving right
So
along.
now we're going to move on to the women's issues.
Yes.
When they get older.
Okay. Well, I forgot one thing for the men that I do offer at the office that we were going to talk about.
Is this
Oh,
the
yes.
injections?
Yes. So as that the tissue of the penis starts to technically deteriorate, it loses its elasticity, it loses its vascularity, so its ability to fill and stretch, or the size of the penis will shrink over time. I do a procedure in office, the penis shot, and it's basically something called.
Is that really what you call it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've wanted to call it other names, but I can't.
Why? What do you want to call it?
A dick shot.
The dick shot?
Yeah.
Cock shot?
Cock shot. Sounds
Okay,
fun
that
too.
sounds very porn.
Yeah, it does.
You're now thinking about
Do you watch a
rubbing
lot of porn?
sperm all over your face, and you said cock shot sounds like a porn? Okay.
So,
All right.
all right. So what it is it's a
And no, I don't watch porn.
it's called it's from a practice of called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma. Platelets are when you cut your skin and your skin magically grows back together. The platelets contain growth factors, so vascular growth factor, collagen growth factor, elastin growth factor. And so if we've got a worn out or damaged part of the body, we can take those and concentrate them and re-inject them into the body, causing new growth. So you get new vascularity, you get new collagen, you get new elastin. So for men, it can lead to an enhancement in their size of up to about 1 inch in length, inch in girth. And if we're talking about the pleasurable aspects of sex, that can contribute to both parties enjoying it more.
That's a lot. 1 inch and 1 inch?
Yeah, up to. So it's so again, for instance, say we've got a 55-year-old man that hasn't been really having strong erections for 5 to 10 years. He might notice there's about 1 inch to 2 inches of shrinkage, of loss of the his ability to get an actual erection. There is a term called micropenis. I don't know.
Micropenis?
Micropenis. I'm a big Hulu fanatic. I watch a lot of shows on Hulu, and the show New Girl, they recently did an episode on micropenis because they were talking about if guys would still be interested in women if they had smaller breasts, and the challenge to the woman was if she would still be interested in a man if he had a smaller penis. And that's micropenis is the medical definition. It's penis that's 2 inches in length or less, and so it's kind of an
So
area.
that's a thing?
That's yeah.
That's an actual medical term?
Yes.
Micropenis. So someone that has this.
Say a guy that wasn't very big in his 20s, he was like 4.5, 5 inches long, 5.5 inches. He's got prediabetes, he's got cholesterol, high blood sugar, or high blood pressure, and he's overweight. Okay. He doesn't do anything about it for 5 to 10 years. He's going to shrink in his ability to get a full satisfying erection. And so then he could go down to a 2-inch penis and have a micropenis.
So the injections would take him back to what his size was in his 20s.
help
It's
get
not
him
like if
back.
you're in your 40s, and let's say you're not experiencing this, you're the same size that you were in your 20s. You're not going to go any bigger. It's the extent.
So for those, if we combine it with the use of a pump, so again, some type of, it's a mechanical stimulation. So there have been penis pumps around for just about forever, and the penis pump is using a vacuum pressure to stretch and elongate the penile tissue. The hope or the theory is that if you do that repeatedly over time, then the body's going to respond and generate and make more cells, similar to like weightlifting. Well, that's not exactly true. There might be a little bit of increase, but typically you don't get as much of a gain. So when we combine the PRP, which also has some stem cells in there, so those stem cells can differentiate and make new erectile tissue cells, with the mechanical stimulation of the penis pump, then you can get bigger size and gain.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. The penis injections that you do, you said that increases the tissues in the body. So could you do those same injections, say, somewhere else on a person? Like in this, like for women that want bigger breasts?
I haven't used it on women yet. There are some physicians that will use it for a breast lift. So what happens there is that over time, it's called the suspensory ligament, but it's what more or less holds the breast tissue up and makes it kind of sit higher on the chest, stretches out, and it loses its connective tissue strength. So doing those injections across the breast tissue actually tighten that tissue back up and lift it. So then it looks better. It might look a little bit bigger, but it's just moving the tissue that's there.
That's interesting.
All right, so let's go into the hormones for women.
Okay. So women, the hormone that starts to decrease or drop first for them is progesterone. Progesterone is what maintains the second half of their menstrual cycle. And also in a symptom-wise, it's typically associated with like headaches, anxiety, sleep problems. And so that's kind of the first things that they notice occurring in their life is some menstrual cycle changes along with, just generally not feeling well and having sleep problems, anxiety. And then over time, the estrogen can be affected as well, typically after menopause that occurs usually at age 50. It could occur before that or some women after that, but the common denominator is usually around 50. And they also can experience a loss in their testosterone. I think that's one that gets commonly overlooked. And testosterone for women is similar for men. It leads to libido changes. Also, it can lead to body composition changes, strength changes, concentration, focus as well. So women, it is a little bit more complicated because you're looking at 3 hormones and how they impact the body differently. But there is usually a consistent pattern.
So when women are experiencing vaginal dryness, what is that?
Typically low estrogen and possibly low testosterone.
And what is the solution to that?
One of the easiest solutions is an estriol suppository. It's
Again, that's gross to her.
so the suppository is inserted into the vagina and it dissolves. I'm trying to get her now.
Well, what's funny is I think she probably puts a tampon up there at least a few times a month. So I don't know why putting something up your vagina grosses you out so much if it will help your sex life to keep you moist.
Oh, I hate that word.
Okay, wet.
Moist.
Would you like wet better? Anyway, Dr. Schuyler, how can we fix it?
Yes, the estriol suppository for most women can do quite well at just doing it one night out of the week. So it provides a constant stimulus of a low dose of estrogen in the area so the vaginal tissue will stay a little bit fuller, a little bit stronger, and then usually the ability to produce lubrication improves as well. The other component can be testosterone, which is, again, if the vaginal dryness is due to some lack of libido or some lack of the ability to be stimulated, aroused, if you will. And so then usually testosterone works better in that area.
What if you're aroused, but you still aren't self-lubricating? How's that, Christina? Is that better? Is that estrogen? Is that, usually, that's estrogen?
Usually, yeah. If there's not an issue with the arousal and the activity, then it's typically estrogen. There are a lot of times if there's pain after intercourse or it's painful during intercourse, that's typically estrogen related too. It's just the overall health of the vaginal tissue is decreased with time.
I don't have that problem yet. Well, I don't have that problem at all for 9 months. I'll come see you in 9 months. Christina.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to say something because your wheels are going there.
So if a woman is experiencing dryness and decreased libido, it's likely estrogen and testosterone. I guess the thing that I'm wondering is, how do you break apart? Is it decreased libido or she's just really busy and she's got a lot going on in her world? How do you determine that?
The way that I personally do is I look at the steroid production pathways from back in physiology, biochemistry. The body will prioritize where it can steal from to create more of cortisol, which is the chronic stress hormone. And so if a woman's busy and she's overworking and she's not taking time to rest and basically get into that rest and digest aspect of the nervous system, let me back up a little bit. So one of the main things that regulates our body is our what's called our autonomic nervous system. And so there's the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight response. And so that usually manifests with anger, irritability. The flight is anxiety and avoidance. And then the added freeze, which is the depression, isolation. And so those are kind of clues that might suggest that busy is really there's a stress overdrive, or there's something acting on the stress response too strongly to allow her to get over to the rest and digest. And that's where the kind of pleasure, sex, food, digestion, all that stuff comes in. My favorite analogy for my patients is, again, I probably watch too much TV, it seems now. There was the History Channel had the show The Vikings on. Mm-hmm. And they did the most wonderful depiction of how our body's stress response and how our genetics are programmed. They would go off and fight and do the raiding. And so that's high stress environment, right? And they're able to adapt to that environment and survive. And then when they get home, then they're at the lodge, right? And they depicted it perfectly. They were eating, so they're digesting, and then they're fucking. So, I mean, they really were in that complete parasympathetic, and they show the contrast quite well on that show. And so if a woman's having difficulty with lubrication due to being busy, it means that she's not coming out of that fight. She's not putting what's going on in her life down to be able to relax and enjoy the things at home.
I think anyone who has anything going on in their life need to go see Dr. Schuyler so he can figure out what is all going on. No, I'm serious. I really think that, that lots of people can benefit in multiple different ways. How do people find you?
You can find me. I'm in Old Town Scottsdale. The phone number is 480-815-0210. And then I do have a website, but I'm going to ask for your forgiveness because I'm not a web designer, and I tried hiring somebody and they did a terrible job, but my website's
I have somebody to help you with your website.
Okay.
She's amazing.
Thank you.
So the website is?
It's www.amazinglifecenter, and the center is spelled CENTRE.com. And again, please forgive me. You notice I didn't even want to tell you because that's how bad I feel about it. So
we'll get it fixed for you.
All right.
So on that note, we got to go.
All right. If you love sports, up next we have JD's Rockin' Sports. So be sure to stay tuned for that because it's a great show. I'm Christina.
And I'm Michelle.
Oh, say, can